in the strong, sober hands of Bernie Dodd.
George.
Can you stand him up on his feet again? Because that's where all my prayers have gone. To see that one holy hour when he can stand alone again.
Listen.
And I might forgive even you, Mr. Dodd, if you can keep him up long enough for me to get out from under. All I want is my own name and a modest job to buy sugar for my coffee.
Will you make
can't believe that, can you? You can't believe that a woman is crazy out of her mind to live alone in one room by herself.
Listen to me, listen to me.
Why are you holding me? I said you're holding me. Could you be so angry at someone you didn't even know?
In a single year, 1954, she had completed 4 major films
Grace Kelly for The Country Girl.
and won an Academy Award. She was pronounced one of Hollywood's major stars. She was 24, and it seemed she had it all.
This is after Grace had enormous success in films and bought a very big, posh apartment. And I have an image of her father walking through the lobby and Grace sort of peering out, saying, there he is, there he's coming. It was as if this fictional character, the great Gatsby, had come down to Earth and was going to look at her apartment. And she really wanted to prove to him that she had accomplished a great deal. And that was the first time I got a sense of an undercurrent of something other than this picture book family.
Grace dated, but no one really seriously until the latter part of her career. There were so many people that were in love with her. Most men were. She had that quality of, well, I don't know, turning men on, as you say. She was going to be my maid of honor, and when the baby sister was getting married, that she started to think about, now, I want to get married too. Well, I was married in June, and I think I broke the news that I was pregnant and I'm going to have a baby in May to her, and she said, Lizzie, you are going to have a baby. Oh, a baby. I'm missing things.
In 1955, Grace would appear in a film that would change her life. Location work for To Catch a Thief took place near the ancient Principality of Monaco. Her co-star would be Cary Grant. Once again, she was directed by Alfred Hitchcock.
What he extracted from her in that combination of the cool beauty who held it all back and then just gave out just enough to be tantalizing and just enough to make the leading man and the audience want a little more.
Never had a better offer in your whole life. One with everything.
I've never had a crazier one.
Just as long as you're satisfied.
You know as well as I do, this necklace is imitation.
Well, I'm not.
I mean, she had a lot of beaux and boyfriends who were actors and human beings and dress designers and this and that, but there wasn't this one person who could fulfill this childhood image that a great many of us have about wanting that one man in our life to be special and really to be the old prince on the white charger.
A French magazine had decided the palace in Monaco would be a perfect background for Grace or a publicity layout. And then Prince Renier indicated he was willing to meet the beautiful star. Though he was known as a shy and modest man, Prince Renier III was called Europe's most eligible bachelor. And his meeting with Grace immediately provoked interest.
Rumors linking you with virtually everybody, and the latest one is with Grace Kelly. Would you comment on that for us?
No, I just met Grace Kelly. She came to the palace when she was at Cannes for the festival, and that's all.
Well, there are many stories that you're actively seeking a wife. Would you care to comment on that?
No, I'm not. That you can misquote.
I see.
What if you did meet a girl that you liked here? Would all this publicity about it prevent you from doing anything about it?
No, it shouldn't. I don't think anything should.
If you were to marry, what kind of a girl do you have in mind?
I don't know. The best.
Being the best was a lesson Jack Kelly had drilled into his children. Grace had excelled. She had reached the top of her profession. But for Grace Kelly, there had to be more. MGM had no idea of Grace's future when it cast her in a film that was oddly prophetic, The Swan.
It was based on a play by Molnar, and the story was very simply the story of a princess.
I want to be so good to you. Oh, I want 100 things. I want to tell you everything that's in my heart, all my secrets. I adore Napoleon, too.
Little princess.
I want to hear you call me by my name.
Alexandra. Alexandra. There was an innate aristocracy, elegance about her, not only in comportment and manners, but also in thinking, in being. It has been a cliché to say that Grace Kelly looked like a princess, but she did. There was another element in Grace Kelly that was all important. She had this extraordinary sense of humor, not only and first of all about herself, never taking herself seriously.
During filming of The Swan, Alec Guinness had an Indian tomahawk smuggled into Grace's bed, and she quickly returned the compliment. The joke would continue for years.
They never spoke about finding it nor passing along. It just disappeared, went from one to the other.
I get back home one night, I'm playing in a show, get into bed, and I say to my wife, for God's sake, why on earth do we need a cold hot water bottle? Why do we need a hot water bottle for? And she said, I don't know what you're talking about. And it was this identical tomahawk.
Somehow, Alec Guinness got it into the palace at least once, into Grace's bed.
So while she was downstairs, the tomahawk was put under the coverlet.
So she ended up with the tomahawk. She read in the papers in Europe that he was being honored by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences.
I stayed at the Beverly Wilshires Hotel, clasping my Oscar, got back 3 in the morning or whatever it was, and there in my bed at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel was the tomahawk.
Out of this extraordinarily withdrawn, glamorous, glacial personality poured forth this sense of the ridiculous that only the British could really appreciate, or a 5-year-old child.
All right, I ever sent her that finishing school. I think they finished her there.
Come on, Mother. Jessie Royce Landis played Grace Kelly's mother in 2 films. And when Grace married Prince Rainier, she said, I'm the one who advised her to marry him and told her that will be your greatest role.
And one Monday morning, she came into L.B. Mayer's office and said, Mr. Mayer, I'm going to get married. Well, he said, Gene, that's wonderful. I'll have a big reception for you upstairs. Well, everybody in Hollywood. No, she said, Mr. Mayer, you don't quite understand.
Grace Kelly had been newsworthy as a movie actress, but now her importance soared.
Miss Kelly, how do you feel on this occasion?
Needless to say, I'm very, very happy.
How about you, Mr. Kelly?
Well, I think you can't interfere with love. If you're in love with each other, well, I'll give my blessing.
Reporters hung on every word and were alert to every move made by Grace or Prince Rainier.
Will you continue with your career after your marriage?
Well, that decision will be made by the prince.
Is Miss Kelly going to make any more movies as far as you know? I don't think so.
He did come to the house that Christmas, And Don and I had our own little apartment, and we asked him over for dinner, and he fit in very well, even helped with the dishes. Renier, when we first met him, I think might have been a little shocked with us when we said, come on, Rennie, you know. But he just fit into the family beautifully.
George, lie down with me.
Tracy. In 1956, Grace made her last Hollywood film, High Society. In it, she proudly wore her new engagement ring.
The sense of style,
How do you do? I'm Tracy Lord.
high comedy performance that she gave in High Society. Vastly different from anything that she had ever done before.
Did you get lost finding us?
No, not at all. We had good direction.
Good.
I do hope you don't mind our being here for your wedding.
Oh, but I'm delighted. We have so much cake. What is your name, dear?
Grace's sense of fun would never again be as publicly revealed.
Oh, my name is Elizabeth Imbrie.
Elizabeth Imbrie. Oh, it sounds like a medieval saint who was burned to death. And you?
She had made this extraordinary, luminous climb to the absolute top apex of the industry.
There are a lot of people that have just quality and have no electricity. She combined them.
She could have called the shots from then on. I mean, then she was finally in a position not to have to argue about the films she wanted to do, not to... people would have bought things for her. People would plan productions around her. They would have done anything. And she fell in love, and she said, bye. I'm going off to be Mrs., in this case, the Princess of Monaco.
And before we all knew it, she was gone.
Grace Kelly had never really enjoyed the publicity that came with stardom. Now she would feel the burden of true international celebrity.
I don't know how she was able to protect that small core that is so necessary, that keeps you sane. But she did.
I have never met.
She was able, under the most extraordinary barrage of vociferous press and personal need that people had. I mean, people just, I don't know why they do it, but they seem to want to get inside, particularly press, a person's soul. And Grace had the extraordinary ability of not rising above it, but separating herself from it. It was almost a mystical kind of ability she had to be the quiet eye in the middle of a horrendous hurricane. And there she was, just firm and sure and calm.
It's a very exciting thing, and I'm very, very happy. Of course, I'm a little sad to be leaving home, but I hope to be back quite often.
She chose, as any average young woman would, her 6 best friends and her sister to attend her at her wedding to the prince.
And then Grace Kelly of Philadelphia, with most of her family and many of her closest friends, sailed away to become a princess.
Prince Renier's yacht bears his betrothed in triumph into the harbor at Monaco. A few hours earlier, Grace Kelly...
Once we arrived in Monaco, it was, of course, all the madness that one has seen in over the years of what went on.
They came by the thousands to welcome and to judge. She was rich, she was beautiful, but she was an American, and to some of them, just an actress.
I think Grace had a tough job being a movie star from America, moving into the life of the symbol of a southern country.
Constant round of parties and being part of this glamorous and mythological event, and just simply being around royalty was new to all of us.
As Grace took up a totally new role, some who did not know her watched and waited for her to fail.
Ego conjuncum vos in matrimonium in nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen.
It was like a fairy tale, all of it. And that's the part that we got to be part of.
It was not a fairy tale. Grace relaxed at her husband's side, but she knew to the Monegasques she now had to prove herself worthy of being the wife of their ruler, Prince Renier III.
The last time I saw Grace was in my own imagination when she was on the yacht, chugging away into the Mediterranean after the wedding was over, and I realized that there was no more Grace Kelly. Grace Kelly was a memory. Grace Kelly was history. There was only Princess Grace of Monaco.
And then we all went home, and she stayed there.
This was a very hard challenge for her because not only the language barrier, but in a foreign world, a foreign customs, and the principality, the formal way of doing things.
She kept studying things that would enforce her position as princess. She utilized everything around her. She improvised on being a princess the way a really good actress will improvise on a part.
For example, she always tried to simplify things. Alexandre, the great hairdresser in Paris, fixed for her a number of special pieces of hair attachments. So when she traveled with all these French aristocrats, and while they were busy making appointments with hairdressers everywhere we went, Grace was always ready with one of these hair pieces, which she would make it into some kind of a wonderful hairdo. Never took extra time.
Since she was fundamentally a working woman, she did everything with a great seriousness of purpose, with a great sense of responsibility.
On cultural or diplomatic occasions, with presidents or with popes, she was expected to be perfect in bearing and often in her newly acquired language.
Partons bientôt pour Paris et ensuite Monaco, et notre visite était très agréable.
It was something that I am amazed that she could handle. I wondered so many times, oh, I don't know, I know I could never do that. But she was determined to make a success of it.
I ask you either or both to explain what will happen in the event twins are born, a boy second and a girl first. Who would be the ruling monarch?
The normal successor would be the eldest of the children, even if it's a girl. That doesn't mean that she will rule, because she can always resign or abdicate in favor of her younger brother, and he would then rule.
Are twins expected?
Not that I know of.
Princess Grace, is your life as a princess what you imagined it would be before you became a princess?
Well, I sort of became a princess before I had much time to imagine what it would be.
With the birth of a daughter, Caroline, on January 23rd, 1957, the line of succession was secure. Just 15 months later, a male heir, Albert, arrived to even greater celebration.
I think the easier thing came was when she had the children, and they did come very quickly. She wanted the children. She loved them, and we had so much fun roughhousing together. Her children and my children, our children, are the same age, and they've gone to camp together. Don and I have been over to Monaco several times with the children, and they've come here in Ocean City.
Their needs were the same, for closeness and for family. In addition to her own children, Grace would always have the Kellys. Prince Renier soon found himself an accepted part of that family.
Grace always adored children. She almost over-adored her own children. She was the typical loving, sometimes too disciplining, but always giving mother.
Private time was essential for them both. Family life was a retreat from the formalities of state. And Grace was determined to keep her family a success. No matter how demanding her official schedule, there was always time for her children. There were the trips home, often with Prince Rainier. There was the anniversary for Margaret Kelly and her growing brood of grandchildren. For Prince Rainier, cruises on his yacht meant he could indulge his passion for fishing. Then there was the time set aside for enjoying the palace pool with children and friends.
I think she held on to her old friends in those beginning years because they were her reality as Grace Kelly, and she didn't want to lose Grace Kelly.
There was never any loss of the sense that she was Gracie from Philadelphia. She was a girl with an American soul and heart, and she brought that to Monaco with her, and she never chipped away at that at all.
In the back of Grace's mind was always the possibility of going back to being a film star. I think she kept it there for those rainy nights.
I would occasionally read a script that would intrigue me. I'd call her and send it on.
And when the opportunity arose to do Marnie, I think she leapt at it.
I couldn't understand why she would want to do it, even why Hitchcock would want to do it. The Monegas were absolutely, completely undone because they thought that she had abandoned them.
I think that the thing that convinced her that she couldn't do it was that she was a princess of the church. And once she believed that dignity of being the princess of the Catholic Church was more important than being an actress, she accepted it, but I think it took a long time.
In 1965, 7 years after the birth of Albert, Stephanie was born.
Once Grace's life as a performing artist seemed to come to a close as she became Princess of Monaco, she didn't discard her feeling for the arts, any part of them.
I got a letter from Grace saying that she was going around doing poetry readings for a theater in London that was being built. So basically, Grace was an artist, and she did it through poetry.
She wanted very much to have Monaco be a cultural center.
Grace established a foundation to further her goals. The Monegasques had been without a playhouse for many years. A new one was built. Today, this theater draws drama companies from around the world. Once, the famous Ballet Russe of Monte Carlo danced here. Grace was determined to bring those great days back. A ballet company must have a school. Through the Princess Grace Foundation, a small school run by one of ballet's foremost teachers has been transformed into a world-class academy. Both Caroline and Stephanie had studied here as small children. Grace was frequently more than an onlooker.
And I remember a particular general rehearsal when she asked me, do you think I could make them up? And all the little children gathered around her, all the faces turned toward the princess, and she was putting a little bit of rouge on their cheeks and a little bit of lipstick on the lips.
It was love of children and of ballet that led to one of Grace's few returns to film. The 1979 Earl Mack documentary, The Children of Theater Street, about young dancers in Leningrad.
They are the protagonists. But as their predecessors have demonstrated, perhaps the greater protagonist is the school they go to.
Angelina has practiced these movements hundreds and hundreds of times. In the next 6 years, she will repeat them thousands of times. What makes it worth it is this.
Grace knew the demands of great performance. But for the Monegasques, Grace herself had gone beyond performance. Through the years, by her diligence, her constancy, she truly was Her Serene Highness, Princess Grace of Monaco.
You know, I don't wake up in the morning thinking I'm living a fairy tale. I have the job to get done and children to raise and a lot of responsibilities and obligations. I like to think that they would consider me a professional at my job, no matter what it would be. If I take on something, I like to do it well, and I like to do it completely.
Some people often say that Grace made a great sacrifice of her career in becoming the Princess of Monaco. I don't think she ever felt that way.
We all say she made as good a princess as she was a movie actress, even better.
You know, in fairy tales, one has to invent a prince and a princess. But here we have them. We had them.
It was in the rugged hills along the border with France that Princess Grace's car went out of control at a curve that has seen many accidents. According to the official version, Princess Grace was driving her 17-year-old daughter Stephanie when the brakes failed. A young Monegasque woman put her feelings about Princess Grace this way. She was never a problem for her. There were no pretensions, no scandals. She was, after all, a lady.
I think she won the hearts and the love of the Monegasque people. Because when she died, I've never seen such true sorrow. For me, just to have a great sister and to have a loving sister.
Before she was a princess, she was an actress. And before that, a girl from Philadelphia. A family girl.